Imagine being born into royalty, your life already charted by birthright, the titles, the privileges, the unspoken promise of your future. Now imagine that, at a stroke, the world you were destined to inhabit is erased. Your name no longer carries the weight you were promised. Your identity, carefully curated, centuries in the making, is suddenly questioned. That is exactly what happened when the former Queen of Denmark made a move that stunned the world. She revoked the royal titles from certain grandchildren, deciding that they would no longer be princes and princesses, and would no longer be in the public line of succession. This was not simply a bureaucratic adjustment, it was a seismic shift, a deliberate reshaping of modern royalty. And its impact was felt deeply in the corridors of power. Leading the charge in response, none other than the very son of the monarch who carried out the purge. He, a prince himself, raised in the spotlight, with every expectation of a life steeped in royal custom and tradition, stepped forward with words tinged with disappointment and dismay. He spoke not just as a royal, but as a brother whose children had lost a precious part of themselves. He spoke of identity, he spoke of legacy, he spoke of the irreplaceable bonds that come from being born into a lineage that carries the hopes and stories of generations. This was a conflict not between countries or ideologies, but within families, a painful, poignant reminder that behind the gilded facades, the monarchy is still made of people, with all their vulnerabilities, their desires, their need for recognition. When the announcement landed, hearts raced. Critics questioned whether this was modernization in action or a cruelty camouflaged as stewardship. Supporters responded that it was a necessary step in streamlining a monarchy for the 21st century, a move Pierce Brosnan might call lean and mean, while others likened it to pruning branches so the tree can grow stronger without weight dragging it down. But for those children whose titles were stripped, that youthful generation who might today attend school like any other kids, it raised deeper questions. What does it mean to grow up royal if the label can be taken away? What value do titles hold when lineage is one thing, but official recognition is another? And above all, what does the mother, sovereign, and custodian of Denmark's monarchy, say to the ones whose rightful place she has just undermined? Enter the voice of her own son. In a statement that cut through the palace calm like a lightning bolt, he spoke of his disappointment, not as a political actor, but as a father. He expressed concern for the loss inflicted upon his children, for the blow to their identity. In doing so, he opened a window into the emotional landscape of a royal family at odds, revealing raw familial tension wrapped in velvet gloves. This was no trifling matter, it was real, it was felt, and it resonated. People around the globe watched on, riveted by the very human drama of a family at the center of tradition and power. As the days turned to weeks, commentary swelled. Social media exploded with support for the children, and critics of the Queen's move. Editorials asked if the new, mini-monarchy, was an oxymoron. Royal watchers queried whether this is the end of old-school monarchy or merely New Age prudence. Across it all, the question persisted: is identity something you're born into, or is it something conferred, and can it be taken away? At the heart of this story lies the essence of royalty itself, identity raised on ceremony and history. But what happens when modernity clashes with legacy? Can a monarchy evolve without losing its soul? And more pressingly, can the family that carries this mantle weather the fractures? The impact goes beyond Denmark's borders. In an era where monarchies across Europe grapple with relevancy, from Sweden's trimmed ranks to the British monarchy's own reinventions, Denmark's move is being watched closely. Is this the blueprint for a leaner monarchy? Or a royal house laying bare the vulnerabilities that arise when lineage and official standing drift apart? Think, too, of the young princes and princesses who at school now must explain not just heritage, but why it was rescinded. What does the world hand them? A royal name, yes, but without title. A bloodline linked to majesty, yes, but without its outward symbol. Identity is more than a name, it's a story. And with this purge, a telling piece of that story has gone missing. Meanwhile, the Queen, and the royal institution, defend their decision as a step towards modernization and sustainability. They argue that in a changing world, the monarchy must adapt. Fewer public roles, less taxpayer burden, more private lives, it's a path taken by many European royal houses. But can this path be taken at the cost of identity? Or is identity, at the end of the day, internal, immune to official decree? For the rest of us, it's a reminder that titles have power, not just over status, but over belonging. They frame our place in history, our relationships, our sense of who we are. And when they're taken away, even partially, lives shift. Hearts shift. Families shift. In the green fields outside great palaces, in the gleaming halls where crowns once passed from generation to generation, the reverberations of this decision are still being felt. What seemed once a secure mantle now trembles under scrutiny. And the story continues to unfold. How will those youthful members of the House of Denmark forge their own paths? Will they carry forward as private citizens, grounded in royal blood but free from its obligations? Or will this be a fracture that echoes across generations, a modern cautionary tale of identity caught in the crossfire of progress and tradition? One thing is certain. This isn't a royal affair sealed behind palace doors. Throughout the world, from media analysts to ordinary family dinner tables, the question echoes, what does it mean to belong? In 2025, with centuries of history colliding with the demands of the modern age, the Danish royals offer a mirror, one that reflects our own struggles around identity, belonging and change. And in that reflection, we see that the most powerful chains aren't made of gold, they're made of meaning. Who am I without the official seal? What do I tell my friends? What identity do I hold at school, at home? The innocence of childhood collides with the stark reality of policies influenced by austerity and modernization. In one moment, they belong to royalty, in the next, their names feel hollow. And that son, Queen Margrethe's own child, does more than merely protest. He articulates what many fear, that identity is indivisible from recognition. How can a child truly claim a heritage when it's officially recategorized as private rather than public? He speaks not in national rhetoric, but in fatherly anguish, lamenting for the lineage and laughter his own children may be losing. It's rare to see such vulnerability from a royal, a human admission that titles are not just words. They carry emotional currency that shapes self-esteem, belonging, and purpose. Across Europe, heads of state and constitutional monarchies watch with a mix of curiosity and caution. Sweden quietly consolidated its throne years ago, the Netherlands weighs the practicality of trimming royal circuits, the UK continues grappling with royal costs and the balance between tradition and taxpayer scrutiny. Denmark's move adds another dimension. Can a monarchy both modernize and preserve the emotional integrity of its youngest members? Imagine the press frenzy unfolding. Headline after headline questioning. Are royal children collateral in modernization? Op-eds declare that lineage is immutable, that a name cannot be decreed into oblivion. Other voices, more pragmatic, argue that monarchies thrive when they're not bloated with privilege, when they adapt and shed excess to remain relevant and respected. Yet the counterpoint echoes through the speeches and statements. Relevance should never come at the expense of identity. Then there's the psychological landscape. Scholars weigh in, noting the disruption of a child's identity framework when official status shifts midstream. It's akin to losing a thread in your own life story. Pediatric psychologists suggest it's imperative to cushion such transitions, to tether identity in love, familial support, and personal achievement. The royal family issued assurances, privately, not through grand proclamations, that all children will be cherished, protected, and guided. But can palace corridors counterbalance public perception, especially when the headlines resound loudly? And the public? In Denmark, polls gauge mixed sentiment. Some reticent citizens welcome the financial prudence and hometown normalization of future royals. Others recoil, viewing any child's title revocation as cold and unnecessary. Outside Denmark, emotions amplify. Social media lights up with gifs of crying princes, memes of titles evaporating into thin air, and moving hashtags like "Let Them Be." It's not just a Danish drama, it's a global conversation about what we owe the next generation of any heritage, royal or otherwise. Drama aside, consider what insightful parenting looks like here. The Queen, in her defense, emphasizes sustainability and renewal. Her intention, she says, was not to wound, but to ensure the monarchy's vitality for decades to come. It's a strategic consolidation, a fait accompli meant to usher in a leaner institution. But one wonders if she underestimated the emotional resonance of her decree. A modern sovereign who wears humility well might have anticipated pushback from within the family. Parenting at the crown's center doesn't differ greatly from common parenthood. Violations of trust and identity always hit hard. In narrative terms, this isn't a plot twist, it's an emotional crescendo. The Queen's son, no longer silent, has inserted himself into the public square, urging compassion and reminding the monarchy that its strength lies in its human connections. He's asking not for titles, but for things far more profound, belonging and recognition for his children, even if they won't walk red carpets. That plea echoes across borders, in corporate boardrooms where jobs are cut, in schools where students are labeled, in any environment where identity is shifted by external decree. We all feel that tug when who we are is reframed without our choosing. Now think forward. What will those children become? Trailblazers creating philanthropic initiatives rooted in their bloodline but liberated from obligations. Private citizens nurturing family traditions outside public glare. Engines for change, redefining what royalty means to Gen Z. Or will they grapple with lies of omission, pedigree playlists interrupted by asterisks? Their journey transcends royal rumor. It may become a case study on resilience, identity formation, and legacy reimagined. And the institution itself, how does it reconcile public duty with familial truth? Can a monarchy prune its branches without enfeebling the roots? Can it maintain symbolic heritage while reframing the crown's role in democracy? Denmark may well set a precedent. If this autumn, a scholar composes a treatise on 21st century royalty. This chapter will be pivotal. Identity versus institution. In the midst of this transformation, the Queen's son stands as an unexpected anchor. His defense of his children's identity reminds us that even in palaces, paternal instinct is primal. Love demands recognition, and identity demands acknowledgement. It's a truth so simple, yet so powerful. Words stitched onto birth certificates matter. They show up in first-grade classrooms, in birthday cakes, in wedding invites, in anxious introductions. Being stripped of them is deeper than a title, it's a question mark against one's place in the world. And yet, there's hope. The narrative isn't closed. Public empathy grows, private conversations soften, and the Queen might yet reconsider how her decree unfolds. Perhaps the monarchy will offer honorary distinctions, a pathway for grandchildren to attain working titles, compensation for lost symbolism. Perhaps those children will choose to shine through identity reinforced by love, not royal decrees. Blood runs deeper than titles, but titles shape perception and possibility. The Danish story now touches each of us. In schools, workplaces, even families, we govern identity every day, through names, roles, titles. We strip them, we bestow them. And every time we do, we shape lives in ways we may not fully grasp. So here's the real question, dear viewer. If your identity could be altered by decree, policy, or someone else's idea of what you should be, how would you respond? Would you fight for your inherited name? Would you redefine it on your own terms? Or would you step off the stage and carve out a new path unburdened by legacy? I want to hear from you. What does identity mean in your world? Have you ever had something taken away that defined you, and how did you reclaim your story? Share your insights below, and let's dive into this discussion together. If this unraveling of modern royalty resonated with you, show your support, like, share, and subscribe so we can continue exploring stories that weave tradition, conflict, and humanity. Let your voice be heard in the comments. Who gets to define your identity and what would happen if they tried to change it?